Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, really good, man. Really good. Do you want video or is it just audio?
Just audio.
Cool. No worries. I can do that. I don't even have to put any clothes on.
Oh, awesome. Well, with that, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
No problem, man. I'm all about it.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's great to be able to talk to you and talk about this amazing album from Black Orchid Empire, Semaphore, which just came out this past Friday through Long Branch Records. And I've gotten the chance to be able to check out this album over the course of the last few weeks, and I absolutely love what you guys do. Just discovering you guys here, and I love the sound of what you guys are going for, being able to explore all these territories, yet maintaining a great original sound behind it. And this is just one killer album from start to finish.
Oh, it's sick, man. I'm so glad you feel that way. Yeah, it's been a pretty, it's taken a long time to put together, and we've worked really hard on all of the little details of it, and it just is so gratifying to find that people actually get it, and when they hear what we've made, they have the same feelings about it that we had when we were making it, essentially, and that's all anyone can ask for. So yeah, that's amazing, and the response so far has been super good, so we're really happy.
And what is that like? I mean, obviously with the band being in a few albums in now, I mean, what is that like now to see that the band is catching on this way and the band is starting to rise?
It's really always really hard for us to actually have an objective view of what it's like, because I feel like the impression that people have of a band and how big it is or how successful it is or whatever is always very different from how it actually feels when you're in it yourself. So we just kind of make the records we make, and we just put out the best thing we can, and that just obviously hopefully is improving over time. I think though on this release we're definitely getting a sense that certainly people outside of our sort of close group of fans are starting to take an interest, and for example, talking to people in the States and in loads of different countries and in all throughout Europe and stuff, we're starting to get a different level of response than we had before. So that's definitely new. But yeah, it feels really strange actually. It's not. I guess from outside you would assume that you'd be completely on top of how your band is seen by other people, but I'm always surprised when someone says that they've already heard of it. It always seems alien to me to have anybody who's familiar with what we're doing in advance. But it does feel like it's starting to change, which is amazing. And to be honest with you, we don't really make records for other people. We just have fun making the record we want to make, but we're always conscious of how that's going to be perceived. So it's really awesome that people are starting to get it.
Oh yeah, and that's what really drew me to the band, is because I could instantly tell that the band is original in the sound that you're going for, and being able to explore all these different territories, no matter how heavy, no matter how many different directions that you're going in, no matter how catchy it gets, like it all fits together with what you're doing. And of course, me being such a huge sucker for concept records, and seeing what you guys did with this album, and being able to explore all these different territories, both lyrically and musically. I mean, it pretty much captures everything that I do enjoy in rock and metal music, and it's so cool to see that.
Cool, man. I mean, the concept was a really interesting idea for us. We haven't done it before. It's always just been like each individual song has its own sort of story, if you like. But yeah, we're just like huge sci-fi nerds, and we love loads of different TV and film and books in that genre. And I was it's really tricky when you're a writer to constantly come up with topics for songs that just reference your own experience, without it just becoming either boring or kind of stretched. You have to be like Axl Rose to be able to talk about that life, it's kind of strange to me. And then I realized, I kind of had an epiphany one day when I was like, wait a second, like, you don't have to actually experience every single thing to be saying something interesting. And fiction is an amazing world for that. Tolkien did not go to Mordor. Like, he just made that shit up. And in doing that, created a universe and had an amazing kind of detailed world for people to live in. And I thought, well, maybe we could do a similar thing with our album. And it's not exactly a new idea, people have done it before, but the idea that each song could be its own story, but everything would be tied together with one big theme. And it meant that when I'm writing lyrics, and it wasn't just me actually this time, everybody kind of pitched in with these things, which was actually another benefit of having a concept. It means you're free to talk about crazy shit, just anything you want, and it works. And I'm actually writing some short stories as well, so there'll be one short story for each song on the album, and it gives you a bit more detail about the actual narrative of that song. But it ended up being such a freeing experience to do as a lyricist, and not being tied into sticking with, you know, I went to the shops today as your topic, because that's all you had, you know. It was a really interesting thing to do.
Oh yeah, and you know, it's great to be able to see that when a band gets to a certain point where it feels comfortable to have the whole band being able to contribute and show all these different sides of the band, you know, lyrically, musically, everything that's going along with that. And yeah, when you do have something like this kind of concept that's going on, where you do have these awesome stories all tied together with a central theme, and now that the fact that you are writing short stories to go along with it to divulge even further into these stories, I mean, it's incredible to see that you guys have the love and the passion to really be able to flesh this album out the most that it can be.
Yeah, it's been really important for us on this, because we're such a DIY band anyway. We literally do everything you can imagine that a band could do. We do it ourselves. So, for example, we self-record in our studio, we self-produce. I mixed the album, I drew all of the artwork, and Dave did all the digital layout for it. It's literally every single part of that process is totally hands-on. So for us, it's kind of an obsession, and it's really important that we are in control of every single aspect. I don't think it's for a kind of self-indulgent reason. I just think that it's really important to us that every single thing is thought about, and literally down to the font you use on the CD liner booklet. Like, I really feel like it has to be a complete vision, because we're doing stuff that's quite niche in a lot of ways. It's quite progressive in a lot of ways. Even in the world of heavy music, it's a little bit progressive, and you know, if you can't have control over every single aspect in that realm, then when can you? You know, we're not talking about a kind of off-the-shelf pop band here or something where it's a very kind of mechanized product. So given that we've got a fantastic label who are very hands-off and just say, listen, we love the demos, let us know when the masters are ready. Given that we've got that situation, we thought, well, let's use that and let's do everything ourselves. And we haven't done that before, but this is the first record we've done that. And I feel like it's really paying off, because people like the level of detail there is, and they like the layers that they can peel back, and I think the narratives are going to have a whole new kind of arena for that as well.
Oh yeah, and if you didn't pay that much attention to those details, I mean, from everything that's going on there, I mean, the album and the band in general just might not have the same influence that it could have right now. And just like you said, being able to use the fonts and the colors and everything that's going on with the album cover alone, let alone being able to look at the rest of the artwork, and then being able to see how that connects together with the storylines, and with the storylines being able to hear the music and everything connected. And especially when it comes to a concept album, I mean, you want everything to be as cohesive as possible.
Yeah, some of my favorite records are like that. Like, I'm a big Mastodon fan. They're really good at doing that, and I know they obviously get different artists involved and stuff, but it's always really cohesive, and you can see a Mastodon cover across the shop and you know it's them. You see a guy's t-shirt, you know it's them, you know. So I think it's really cool when you get the chance to do that. And we've been, you know, at first we were kind of DIY by necessity, as I think everybody is, especially in the modern idiom. But as we've developed and we've had the chance to have other people involved, and they've been, you know, there's been some stuff we've done some great collaborations with, and we still do collaborate a lot. But just being able to drive all the processes, I think, is really important. We literally from designing the merch to in fact, the only thing that we had a much less hands-on approach to was the videos, because they were all done by our amazing friend Alina, who just kind of came up with the briefs from the lyrics. She hadn't even read my short stories, and they're just so spot on. And she just did an insane job. So that was really nice, because we could just say, look, this is cool, go and do it. This is amazing. And we'll do our performance element. You can cut it together however you want, and we'll do it that way.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about that too. Like, I really love the videos that are going on here, and even when it's just like the visual videos that are going on, you know, it's like I really love the atmosphere of what's going on with those. But like the full-on videos, like I really appreciate all the detail and the production work that went into it, because I think it really enhances the songs.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts for us because they went to, Alina is from Odessa in the Ukraine, and she went out there and she has an amazing team. They're filmmakers. They make massive films all the time. And for example, got an incredible Hollywood level prosthetics expert to help with the alien design. They spent like 8 hours in makeup, and it just went absolutely mad. But it's meant that the whole thing has felt really tied together. And as we've kind of been drip feeding the singles, it's been opening up this little universe of ideas. And it's not like a TV series where it's all one contained thing. They're all different stories, but the whole thing has this really cohesive feel to it, which was really important for us. And I just can't believe how cool those videos have come out. But you're right, the visualizers are also excellent, and done by a friend of ours, Martin. And it's nice just to have people, like it feels like everybody involved has been firing on all cylinders, and it's reaping the rewards, which is great. It's really, really cool.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, along with that, too, I mean, obviously, being able to promote the band in every way that you can, with the album, with the videos, it was great to be able to see some playthroughs of these songs as well, too. I mean, being able to see you guys go and actually show how to play these songs and what really went into creating these songs.
Yeah, well, our day job is running a commercial studio, so that's our place, the recording studio, London, it's called. And we decided back in, I guess it was way back now, a few months ago, because we haven't been in there for 3 months, but we took a bunch of time out and shot quite a few playthroughs, so there's still 2 more to come for Singularity. There's a bass one and a drum one for that as well. And we just wanted to make sure that it was good, like really good quality, and all the playthroughs, we decided to capture live performances and record them for real rather than it being mimed in any way. So all of the playthroughs, obviously there's multiple takes, but it's all live audio that I've remixed, basically. So when you see like a drum playthrough, it's all brand new drum audio. It just, to be honest with you, what we're doing is doing what we love other bands to do. So when you know, I'm a big fan of Periphery, for example, and some of Matt Halpin's drum playthroughs and Misha's guitar playthroughs and Mark's playthroughs are just phenomenal. And we really wanted to kind of emulate that. I feel like it's really important because a lot of people who are musicians are also fans of bands, they're fans of music, and I think musicians really appreciate it when they can get a little bit deeper into your process and see what equipment you're using and all that kind of nerdy stuff that I love. And we figured there must be a market for that elsewhere. And I think it's cool. I think people are into it.
Oh yeah, I'm very much the same way, and that's why I appreciate those videos so much. And even though I'm a drummer, I mean, of course, I love watching the drum playthroughs and seeing the whole setups and everything. I love seeing the whole studio setups. Like, I love being able to see the preamps, the monitors, even the cables, just being able to see everything that really goes into the studio and how everything is created that way, and just being able to see the sounds and the tones that you're able to get through these recent playthroughs as compared to the official audio that comes out. I mean, it's cool to be able to see how you play it in one take as opposed to on the record.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love all that stuff. I'm a huge kind of equipment geek, really. So it's always been really important to me. And I may do some more like studio rundown stuff, how we achieve tones. I think the drum tones are all quite, you know, traditional recording methods with some extra samples that I made as I recorded the record as well. So we did some cool stuff like putting a microphone out in the hallway and capturing some tones that way, and then blending that in after the fact, which was fun. At like 3 a.m. in the studio. And then all the guitar tones are quite innovative because for the first time, I've just used plugins purely for that, which is cool. So some of the new technology from Neural DSP, which is making creating great tones easier and easier, which is really good to see. And the same for the bass. The bass sound is essentially just the Parallax plugin that they make, obviously mixed. But it's so cool because before, when we've done these records, it's taken, you know, so much more time to put all that together, and to be able to basically record like a raw guitar DI and then play with the sound afterwards in the mix was really freeing for me as a mix engineer as well.
Oh yeah, and I can only imagine how satisfying that must be for you as well, too. I mean, obviously, there's something to be said about using the real amplification and being able to find the right pedals, the right strings, right everything to be able to create the tones that you're looking for. But when you're able to have that convenience of working with the plugins and being able to really get the tones that you want to, and being able to save so much time for what you're looking for, and being able to find sounds that you may not have been even thinking was possible with the current setup that you have, and being able to find a plugin to be able to create those sounds. I mean, again, with the final product, I mean, it just paid off so very well, and it's awesome to see that between the guitar and bass.
Yeah, and I think the really key thing is that the less time you spend messing about with your tone, the more time you have for coming up with cool creative parts and performing the parts, and I just feel like it suits us better, that workflow anyway. My other problem is that I love guitar amps. I could talk all day about. I used to have a Mark 150. It was like my dream amp. It sounded amazing, but the trouble is I'd spend like 3 hours getting the perfect tone captured, and then I'd want to come back in like 2 weeks and drop in for a part, and everything would have moved around and it'd be a nightmare. Or I don't know, I would just find that although the tone was perfect for that part, it didn't fit the chorus, and suddenly I had to go and mess around with it again. And I don't know, I think it's possible to get probably the best guitar sounds in the world through real amps and microphones in the room, and somebody who knows what they're doing can dial that in. But the problem is recreating that and having it consistent. And for the kind of tiny percentage differences in tone you're talking these days, I find that I actually get better tones from plugins because I spend less time having to run backwards and forwards to different rooms and freak out about cables and loads of different stuff going on. So it's the efficiency actually breeds creativity for me. So I think that's a positive thing.
Oh yeah, and I experience that so much when it comes to the drums as well too. I mean, especially with the kind of studio setup that you have, and the walls and the angles and everything that's going on there can affect drum sounds so much. And when you're trying to, even if you have like the most perfect drum set with the perfect sounds that you're looking for, depending on where you put them in the studio, it can completely change sounds and not sound the way that you want them to. And being able to change heads or change rims or whatever the case is, it can be such a hassle to be able to do that. But, you know, sometimes just for that convenience factor, so you're able to work on the songs and make them the best that they can be. I mean, you know, being able to use the drum samples and use drum plugins to be able to create those sounds that way, and just being able to save that time and just create some great music out of it can be such a great rewarding thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so the drums, I'm pretty into drums. They're my favorite thing to record. So I do all the tuning and, you know, selecting all the... We've got a great Sonar SQ2 kit and select the different head choices and stuff. Came up with a couple of cool things on this record, one of which I stole from Matt Brown, who's a really good drum tech in LA, which is a little cotton wool ball that you shred and put into the drum, so it rests on the resonant head, on the resonant head, and then when you hit the batter, the cotton wool floats, which allows the drum to speak for about, you know, a couple of 100 milliseconds, 300 milliseconds, and then it falls down again and acts like a gate, but on a real drum, which means that when you're playing everything else, they're not ringing out so much, and when you hit the tom, you get a really pure, beautiful tom sound that's quite short, and that enables you to do a lot more later in the mix without having to worry. So I could really ride my room mics or my ambient mics without it just being rumbly toms in everything. So that was a cool thing to be able to do. I find that the samples are more like wanting to get the sense of a room that was bigger than the room we had. So that was why we were adding like hallway samples and stuff into there as a little bit of reinforcement. But the majority of my drum sound is super organic, roomy microphone source tone, basically. And I find that you can't really emulate that very well. Capturing the air moving from a performance is really the most important thing, and the samples are there to help you out when you've got a problem, and they're there to create consistency across the record. But we were super on top of the tuning and stuff, so I'd have a reference pitch I just took my iPhone with a reference pitch on it and made sure all the toms were tuned to the right notes and the snare was just consistent. We just tune up in between every couple of takes. So it's that kind of level of detail that I think you have to have. The difference is we're also in the band. So normally you rely on like a producer and a top engineer to be doing that while you're doing the performance. But our job, there's three of us that are all producers, all being in the band at the same time. So it's kind of a crazy experience, but it works really well because two of us essentially produce the other person, and that's kind of how it sticks together.
Oh yeah, and I can only imagine that great rewarding feeling, especially when it comes into making sure that you are getting as much of the real acoustic drums and cymbals that you possibly can, when you're able to find those right sounds and you know exactly what you're looking for, and then when you record them and it turns out just as good, if not better than what you want it to be, and just that satisfaction of knowing that all that hard work that it takes to be able to do those tips and tricks, the mic placement, everything, when you're able to do that, I mean, when you hear that back, I mean, it can make a good album turn into a phenomenal album.
Yeah, I think tones are very important. Obviously, nothing matters if the songs aren't well written in the first place, if you haven't got cool ideas, who cares? But it's a real shame when you get a fantastic album that is a little bit marred by dodgy production. So we were really, it had to be a flagship record for us. There's the other thing is, if you're kind of staking your name on something as a mix engineer, it's kind of daunting because you're saying, if I can't make my band sound great, then how am I going to make anyone else's band sound great? So I had to make sure that was right. But yeah, we just spend time on the detail. And to be fair, like Billy is a beast of a drummer, and he nearly killed himself doing it. Like, this is a guy that practices every day for hours, and he still gave himself blisters doing this record, so it's a testament to the amount of hard work he put in on some pretty technical stuff.
Oh yeah, and I can absolutely hear that intricacy that's going on there as well. And yeah, I mean, between all three of you and making this as DIY as you possibly did with this album, I mean, it's just incredible to see all the work that you did too. And that's what also makes it unfortunate about like the timing of the release. I mean, obviously I love the fact that this album came out on Friday, but I also, it's a sad fact because of everything that's going on in the world right now, and not as many people are picking up like the physical versions of the album right now, and just like everything in the state of the world right now. I mean, it's both a good and bad. It's good because a lot of people that really do care about the music, they're able to sit down and appreciate the music more. But also just like everything that's going on in the world right now. I mean, I can imagine that there's a lot of good and bad with having the album still coming out during this time.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way we were going to postpone it because we were already into single releases back in February that were all building up towards the release, and I think stalling that would have done us a lot of damage. It's a strange one. This has been the best release we've ever had for an album, so I think it's a double-edged sword, like you say, in a lot of ways, and not being able to tour really sucks, but at the same time, nobody can tour, so it's not like your band is missing out and every other band is kicking ass. It's like nobody's out there. So the back end of this year and into next year, we can go hard, and we've already got a bunch of tours booked, and we're going to be definitely coming to the States next year as well. We just started working with TKO out there as our agent for USA, so that's great. But I don't know, I feel quite good about it. I think people have been taking the time to delve in. So to give you a bit of inside information on the day of release, we had something like 4 times as many streams as listeners, meaning people were going in and listening to it like multiple times, which is kind of cool. So it's not, I don't think people were just diving in on their commute and then saying, all right, well, I'm done with my journey. They were listening to the whole album and then going, right, I'm going to rewind and listen to it again, which is crazy to me. So I think it's actually had some benefits.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the great things about what's going on in the world right now, at least when it comes to music and people who enjoy music, is they're able to sit down and really be able to appreciate full albums now, because previously of what was going on, like some people might be able to just enjoy the singles and not really be able to spend the time to be able to really appreciate the album the way that it should be. But having a full-on concept album like this, where during these times albums and you're able to listen to the album multiple times, try to figure out everything that's going on, listen to these stories, and seeing how everything is connected. I mean, it's really a great thing to be able to have that happen for the album. And yeah, just like when you said, when everything kind of gets back to normal and we're able to have shows again, and you guys are actually coming over here to the States for the first time. I mean, that's incredible to be able to see that, and I'm so curious and excited to see how these songs are going to be in that live setting.
Yeah, me too. We have obviously road tested quite a few of these songs. We tend to do that as we're doing the kind of writing phase. Some of these songs we were playing out even in like last summer. So it's not going to be a tale surprise. Some of them, I have to say, are pretty challenging, so it's going to be an interesting one to do live, but we're looking forward to it. We're just going to have to get back into rehearsal as soon as we can and just bury our heads in the sand for a couple of months and then come out and do some shows. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be, we're going to come out the gates pretty hard.
Oh, awesome. And, I think with that, that's an amazing note to end on. It's something to be really excited for when it comes to live shows in the future and everything that can happen with the band going forward. And thank you very much for taking the time to be able to talk to me about everything that's going on in your world right now. And, of course, the brand new album from Black Orchid Empire is available now through Long Branch Records. I love this album from start to finish. I love the sound that you guys do. It's making me very excited to see what you guys have done previously, because I haven't had the chance yet to be able to check out the previous albums, but I'm definitely going to be doing that now to see the progression of where the band is. And yeah, I'm excited to see where you guys go in the future as far as live shows and touring, and of course future albums to come.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Josh. I think you should go back and listen to Archetype, which is a bit more kind of rock and a bit less heavy, I guess, and then Yugen, which is definitely in between the two. So I think you'll enjoy listening to the back catalogue, hopefully. But you have to let me know how you get on. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's been really good to chat, man.